Okay.
Good evening. I'm standing in this evening as President Pro Temp, and it is now 6:30 on Thursday, January the 5th, 2017, and I now call the Winton City School Board of Education organizational meeting to order. Most of us know we turn off our cellular devices or have them on silent. Please rise and join me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the roll?
Gladly. Mr. Birdie? Here. Dr. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Here.
Mrs. Miranda?
Present.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Here.
Okay, our first item on the agenda is to elect the board president for the 2017 calendar year, and I will entertain nominations at this time.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Jessica Miranda as president.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? No other nominations? Seeing that there are none, I declare the motion on the floor to nominate Jessica Miranda for board president as closed. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Sure will. Mr. Birdie? Aye. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
The vote passes unanimously. As President Pro Temp, I now declare Mrs. Jessica Miranda as the new board president for the Winton Woods City School Board. Mr. Seymour, if you will come forward and administer the president's oath.
Let me move out of the way.
You want to switch sides? Or?
Here, let me get out of the way.
This is fine.
Okay.
This is fine.
I, Jessica Miranda,
solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States,
and the state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully,
to
to the best of my ability,
the best of my ability,
perform the duties
perform the duties
of President of the Board of Education
of President of the Board of Education
of the Winton Woods City School District,
of the Winton Woods City School District,
Hamilton County, Ohio.
Hamilton County, Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
If you would sign up.
Yes, sir. All right, would you be so kind as to pass that down for me?
I will now pass this gavel back over to our President Miranda for her to continue on with the board business.
Okay, we will now accept the nominations to appoint our board vice president.
Madam President, I would like to make a nomination to nominate Ms. Viola Johnson, please.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any further nominations? Seeing none, we will go ahead and accept this motion to appoint Dr. Viola Johnson as the board vice president. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, I know you're writing something, but would you mind calling that vote, please?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and Mr. Seymour will now administer the oath of the vice presidential office to Dr. Johnson. He's going around the
Going
other
around
way.
the other way. It's going around the other way.
Yeah.
I, state your name,
Dr. Viola Johnson,
solemnly
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will perform faithfully,
and I will perform faithfully,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
the duties of Vice President
the duties of Vice President
of the Winton Woods City School District,
of the Winton Woods City School District,
Hamilton County, Ohio.
Hamilton County, Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Let's see.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Okay, board colleagues, we will now move into 4.01, which is our Board of Education's schedule of meetings for the 2017 year. Board members, your packet outlines the schedule of meetings for our regular meetings, our work session meetings, and our special meetings with the superintendent regarding our operational briefings. And a motion would be in order.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the list of meetings, school board meetings, and work sessions and superintendent briefings as written.
Second. It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will move into item number 5, and Mr. Seymour, we turn to you for the budget.
Basically, you have before you is the tax budget for fiscal year 18, which is next school year. And it's basically based on a calendar year. Most of you, this is not new for you, so the only new part to the tax budget is the bond indebtedness. You know, for the tax budget, we're approving that all the past levies are still needed for operation. So new to this for your approval would be the bonded debt for the new buildings, and also the facilities maintenance, which will get the $500,000, which you've already done the authorization and the transfer of that $500,000 from permanent improvement to the facilities maintenance fund. And then, of course, we will be selling we have already, just so you know, Mrs. Miranda and I already did the execution of the $9.8 million note, and we're scheduled February 27th to sell $51 million in notes, and then we will get our bond rating, and then we will go to market and sell our bonds to pay off our notes.
Mr. Seymour,
Yes.
can you just take a few minutes to explain to the board why that maintenance agreement is critical?
Ohio School Construction Commission or facilities, they're so interchangeable now, I'm not sure which one we refer to all the time, but they require, if the state of Ohio helps support construction of your buildings, that you allocate 1/2 of $1 million to maintain those facilities once they're done. And that's basically the equivalent of roughly $215,000 a year. And of course, we will accumulate those funds until the buildings are constructed and after constructed would need any repair upon. It would not be used for the construction of them. It would not be used until you sign off with your owner's rep and your architects and your final acceptance of the facilities. Would you ever use those funds for repairs?
And in the past, districts have built new buildings and could not maintain them. That's dangerous.
That's a nightmare.
Okay, so I wanted you guys to know. I knew he knew, but
But
Thank you.
those are the only critical things of the tax budget which you are, that have changed from what you experienced last year. And we're basically telling the auditor that all those approved levies that our community has approved, we need them and we're going to spend them in the appropriate ways.
correct.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. So a motion would be in order for that, board colleagues.
I'd like to make a motion for the adoption of the fiscal year 2018 budget as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or further questions for Mr. Seymour?
I just have one, just minor, just to make sure it's correct. There's maybe just a little typo,
Oh, heaven's sakes.
it's just on a date at the very top. It's a very minute, but I just want to make sure that it gets corrected before we
Where is that
finalize.
at?
It's on.
If you don't mind telling me.
No, not at all. It's the document, the budget resolution, on the very top on the heading. It has 20188, just has a little extra 8 for, instead of 2000. Just a
On the
minor.
actual resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, I will fix that.
That's, I thought, just, it's, besides that, it looks wonderful. So-
You know, spell check doesn't get numbers.
Yep.
No, I just want to make sure, since it's official, I just want to make sure that it was
Yeah.
what we officially.
That actually doesn't go anywhere. What is a resolution I'll fix, which summarizes the budget that we sent downtown and would be attached to the organizational
Okay,
meeting.
I just want.
But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. And back to you, Mr. Seymour, for the investments of funds.
Basically, here I'm asking the board to authorize the treasurer to invest inactive or unneeded interim funds in permissible investments, and it would always be pursuant to the board policy that you have adopted, and I have that with me if you would want to look at it, but you're basically giving me permission and authorization to invest those inactive funds in a productive manner as the funds are there, and it's a very important one this year. We will be sending of the 9.8 million, Tuesday I will be sending 8.5 of that to our portfolio. We're not going to be needing it immediately, so.
Right. Madam President, I would like to make a motion to authorize the treasurer to invest the inactive and interim funds in the permissible investments pursuant to board policy and the Ohio Revised Code when funds are available.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Seymour? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And we will now move into item number 7 on our agenda, which is the authorization of official signatures.
Basically here, we're just authorizing the treasurer and the board president to be the official sign-off officers on all board documents, and that they may be facsimile, electronic signatures. Obviously, all of our payroll is now facsimile, so.
Board, a motion would be in order.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion as per the Ohio Revised Code that authorizes the president and treasurer to be the official signers for payment of funds for the Board of Education as stated, as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Mr. Seymour, we will come back to you for item number 8, please.
Here you're passing a resolution authorizing the county auditor to make advance payment of taxes to the school district as proceeds are received by the county auditor. And I must get authorization from the board to request those funds as the funds become available and payable at the Hamilton County Treasurer's Office.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution requesting the county auditor to make advance payments of taxes as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we will now move into item number 9, Mr. Seymour.
Here I'm requesting a motion authorizing the treasurer to make fund-to-fund advances, advance returns, and transfers as needed throughout the year with board ratification at the next regular meeting within the financial reports. I've been here 5 years now, and we've not needed this, but there may be an occasion where we may need to do this with state funding. Our state funds are so tight when they send our funds that if it was a material nature at the end of a month of a material amount, I would have to ask the board permission to transfer from the general fund to cover that and then transfer back when the funds were received.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion authorizing the treasurer to make fund-to-fund advancements or advances, advance returns, or transfers as needed throughout the year with board ratification as part of the financial reports at the next regular meeting.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Randy, I'm going to give you a bit of a break here So I'll read number 10 for you.
Okay.
So item number 10 on our agenda stands to offer the board members participation into the employee benefit plan as per Ohio Revised Code, and I'll read this for you verbatim. As per Ohio Revised Code 3313.202, the current board members may exercise their option to participate in the district's employee benefit plans at each board member's expense. Members exercising their option to participate must state so publicly and be recorded in the official minutes. The monthly cost for health insurance is $607.97 for single and $1,523.28 for families. The monthly cost for dental insurance is $29.08 for single persons and $79.82 for a family. Are there any members of our board who wish to participate?
Right, that's,
Okay, so seeing none, we'll move into item number 11.
we have
Anything to
had
add?
that occur, so
Yeah.
I just like to leave it in case it should ever occur.
Right. We appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and move on to number 11, Mr. Seymour.
Here, we're talking about your student activity accounts. All the student activities each have their own account, as well as the athletic department and the performing arts have their accounts. And here, we're requesting that you appoint the superintendent to be the sign-off officer on all of those student activity programs, and that the programs will be presented to the board once each year, and they're going to be presented to you next. And that the superintendent also have the authority to approve and/or modify those budgets throughout the year as warranted. When you work with student activity sponsors, you have to help them along. They're not close to budgets. It changes constantly. And basically, we have a student activity clerk that helps with all of that. And we try to keep their budgets current and up to date. And you're basically getting the superintendent permission to continue that policy so that we don't have to keep bringing those to you. You would be inundated with changes and minimal immaterial amounts of funds.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to request the appointment of the superintendent to be the sign-off officer of the student activities programs, and these programs shall be presented to the board once a year. The superintendent will also have the authority to approve and/or modify the student activity budgets throughout the year as warranted.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we'll move on to item number 12.
And here are the list of those student activity accounts that we currently have active, that you'll be approving, that they're currently active. It's kind of strange because it's for the calendar year 2017, but it's also for a fiscal year because you do it at the organizational meeting. They've been in place since September. So at the organizational meeting is when you approve those, so it's kind of a weird, but those are the groups that are in place right now. And if should one be established that was not on the approval list, they're brought to the Board of Education to approve their establishment.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to request authorization for the student activity accounts for the fiscal years of 2017 and 18 and the calendar year of 2017 as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, please call that vote.
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 13.
Basically here, it's what's called the authorization of the then and now certificate. And it's authorized by Ohio Revised Code 57.05.41. However, the board still has to approve the treasurer to exercise that authority. And what we're saying here is, as you know, when you purchase things through public funds, you have to have a requisition and a purchase order in place before you do it. And occasionally there's a change in command. There are people that don't quite understand the system and things happen. And then I just simply authorize the payment based on the now and then certificate because the funds were available then and they are still available, and we go ahead and we reimburse that person or pay for that product. I only have authorization up to $3,000. Anything over that would be brought to the Board of Education. And to date, I have not experienced a purchase of that magnitude not being pre-authorized. But we do have small, pre-authorized incidental purchases, you know, where a new teacher wants reimbursement for something they didn't even know what a purchase order is. Well, it's unfair to, it's a little grumpy to say I'm not paying it when they didn't understand the process anyway.
Actually, I have
Sure, go ahead.
a couple of questions.
Let's go ahead and make the
First?
motion
Okay.
first, and then we'll do questions.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion, as per the Ohio Revised Code 5705.41, to request authorization for the treasurer to exercise the then and now certification of funds, provided the funds are within this board-approved appropriations and free of any previous encumbrances.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So in that instance that you gave about the teacher that may not understand the process, how are teachers informed of the process so that they're just not out there spending
As soon as
money
they,
and-
typically, as soon as they have done it, we work diligently with the building secretaries, and they explain the process and say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You have to come to me first, and we have to put in a requisition, and we have to, you know, follow the process and the rules like that.
Right. But teachers know they can't spend more than $3,000 at a setting without pre-approval anyway.
We would never say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't tell them they can do that.
Right, yeah, that's right.
We don't tell anybody.
But the process, I
But
think
it's-
the process, Ms. Rogers, that you were asking about, how did the teachers know not to do it?
Right.
Okay, it's done in their intro packet about process and how they get reimbursed through the treasurer. So there's a, it's called orientation. In their orientation procedure, it's there.
And
some of them-
occasionally, you do have people that are fully knowledgeable of the process, don't want to do the process, and kind of ignore the process and get it anyway, and then you have a talk with that person, and then you usually reimburse them.
Slow reimbursement.
They don't like that tedious process.
Yes.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. And we'll now move into item number 14.
Basically here, what I'm asking the board to do is authorize myself, the treasurer, to modify the appropriations as they were set by the board. I would never, I would always stay within the amended amount that you approved, but I would have authority to move funds from one account to another account as needed. And, I can give you a situation of this. Perhaps the technology department put in $30,000 under new equipment. Well, they decide to buy Chromebooks. Those are not equipment anymore. They are supplies. So I would transfer the funds from equipment to, I'm not saying that happened, but I would transfer the
Right.
funds from equipment to supplies. We supply Chromebooks now, rather than inventorying them, and it'd just be a situation like that. Or oftentimes, we have people that do a contract for services with a person, and they think it's payroll. Well, it's not payroll. So that's a contract outside of, things like that happen, and I move the funds, and I stay within your allocation, and then I always file the appropriate resolution or amended certificate. If you think back a couple months ago, you had given me that permission. I went ahead and did the appropriations and brought them to you to establish the new accounts, so that, and then filed an amended certificate to stay within those appropriations. So you're basically giving me a little latitude to do adjustments as long as I stay within the legal parameters set by the Ohio Revised Code.
And board, a motion would be in order.
Madam President, I'd like to request that the treasurer be authorized to modify the original line item appropriations as set by our board. The treasurer shall not alter the total amended appropriations as adopted by our board and that all modifications must be within the last board-adopted appropriation measure, and that the treasurer shall further stay within the funds available as certified by the Budget Commissioner of Hamilton County, or as amended and approved on or before June 30th by the Budget Commission.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we'll move into number 15, the appointment of the purchasing agent.
We're asking the board's permission to appoint Mr. Steve Denny, Executive Director of Accountability and Business Affairs, to serve as the superintendent's designated purchasing agent for all purchases of the district.
Madam President?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Madam President, I'd like to request authorization for Mr. Steve Denny, Executive Director of Accountability and Business Affairs, to serve as the superintendent's designated purchasing agent for the district.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will now move into item number 16 for the appointments to various councils, committees, and our liaison positions. So let's start at the top of the list, and I will continue to provide you, my board colleagues, with the monthly legislative report, and therefore appoint myself as the OSBA and NSBA legislative liaison. Randy, slow me down if you need me to.
No, I'm just
Okay.
I'm okay.
And then, due to her steadfast leadership through this entire evaluation process and her priceless feedback from an educator's perspective, I would like to appoint Dr. Johnson to the Superintendent's Review and Evaluation Liaison position, as well as the liaison position for the Superintendent's Student Achievement Committee. Dr. Johnson's vision for our students regarding higher expectations and aligned curriculum, in conjunction with the framework for our educational system, makes it a superb fit for her. And then I would also like her to serve as the board's OSBA SALT liaison position, the Student Achievement Leadership Team. Dr. Johnson, thank you for your service in this capacity. And then, due to his background, if I say his, there's only a couple folks at this table we could be talking about, right? Being licensed as a licensed CPA and a former CFO to one of the biggest health organizations in southwestern Ohio.
CPA license is inactive.
Oh, well, but you were. Don't cut yourself short, Mr. Birdie. And due to your expert knowledge in all things finance, we appreciate what you bring to the table. So I appoint Mr. Jeff Birdie to the Treasurer's Review and Evaluation Liaison position, as well as the liaison position for the Superintendent's Financial Advisory Committee. Thank you, Mr. Birdie, for your service and for bringing your numbers brain every meeting, every day. We appreciate it. And then, being a parent and member of this community and school district for over 50 years, it may sound like somewhat of an anomaly, but we do have two of these such profiles that sit on our board currently. I can confidently say that our ballot issue this past November probably would not have passed had it not been for a few things. Amongst many others, but these are a few specific things I'd like to point out. One, being that the offer from the state of Ohio was just too good to pass up. Two, that Mrs. Paula Kuhn spent every waking hour of her time speaking and communicating to members of our communities that, what this means for our district and the opportunity in front of us, and how our goal is to become a destination district here in Ohio. I want to thank you for this Herculean effort and everyone around this table, because truthfully, all of our board members, our parents, our students, our administration, our teachers, and all of our support staff spent hundreds of hours to support this cause. However, you, Mrs. Kuhn, brought the facts and the common sense, if you will, in providing a clear comparison of our options to the community. So I believe you have a superb sense of the pulse here in our communities from your decades of service to our district, and this is why I appoint you as the liaison position for the Superintendent's Committee for Community Engagement again. So thank you, Paula, for your service in this capacity last year, and I look forward to this year as well in 2017. And then, again, not to point out any ages of my colleagues, but Mr. Birdie, too, is the other one who fits this profile of the 50-plus years in our community. So you've been a Forest Park and a Green Hills resident, and this past year kind of set a tone for the relationship we yearn to have with our second biggest community partner. So we have come so far in our relationship with the communications with the Village Council of Green Hills. And I believe that because of this successful transition, we owe a lot of gratitude to you, Mr. Birdie. And this
still got
is,
work to do.
yes, we still have work to do,
Still have
but
work to do.
you did a great job, and this is why I choose to appoint you to that liaison position for the Village of Green Hills once again.
Thank you.
And then, ever since I took office to serve my community as a board member, it was extremely important for me to make sure our community and our district is strong, attractive, and inclusive for students and residents. I think this is important to all of us here at the table. I've worked very hard, cohesively, transparently, and closely with our biggest partner, which is the City of Forest Park. The city's administration and leadership understands our goals as a school district, and they also understand their importance through their partnership in helping us achieve those goals, and vice versa for their goals as a city. So I don't want to sugarcoat anything, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but when we started in 2014, it was difficult. Something happened, somehow, some way, the partnership had been soiled. So our past board president, Mrs. Kim Burns, and I took it upon ourselves to repair this. And because of this and the importance that we know of this partnership with our school district, we need each other. So this is community. This is the type of leadership it takes to keep this train moving forward and prospering for our students. And I want to thank the City of Forest Park for that partnership. Long story short, the bridge of communication and transparency and accountability is being rebuilt and has come a long way from where it began when I took office. So I would personally like to see this through, so I want to appoint myself to keep that liaison position between our board and the City of Forest Park and continue serving my board in this capacity. And then, let's see, being appointed to anything as a brand new board member is quite difficult, especially when you're trying to learn the ropes of what this service actually looks like. But Mrs. Ruggless hit the ground running in her liaison position last year, so I choose to appoint Mrs. Ruggless again to the liaison position to Springfield Township, as I am certain the success you had in your first year will double this year as we make a valiant effort to strengthen our relationship with Springfield Township and keep those lines of communication open. So I thank you, Mrs. Ruggless, for your service in this capacity. Our public records designee per Ohio Revised Code 109.43 is Mr. Randy Seymour. I will appoint myself to continue as your liaison to the OSBA Urban School District Advisory Network. And last but not least, as we are extremely proud of this publication for a ton of efforts and hours went into the development, utilization, production, and maintenance of the board handbook. So I appoint Dr. Johnson to the board member handbook for revision and maintenance as we move forward to another year of service on this Board of Education. So thank you for that, Dr. Johnson. And we will now move into item number 17 to continue our memberships in the following organizations. Yes, ma'am.
President Miranda, if I could just say to, Jeff Birdie has also volunteered to work with me on the handbook.
Oh, fantastic.
So I was going to send it to him over the break, and I got locked out of my account trying to log on, not feeling well, and put the wrong password in too many times. So I have to take everything back to Miss.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, so anyway, I found it, I'm locked out of my account, so. But he's volunteered to work with me on that.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie.
Can I
Okay.
review those for you?
Yes,
Mrs.
sir.
Miranda? Okay. Ohio School Board's Legislative Liaison, Mrs. Miranda. Superintendent's Review, Dr. Johnson. Treasurer's Review, Mr. Birdie. Municipality Representatives, Forest Park, Mrs. Miranda. Green Hills, Mr. Birdie. Springfield Township, Wyoming, Mrs. Ruggless. Superintendent Committee Liaisons, Student Achievement, Dr. Johnson. Community Engagement, Mrs. Kuhn. Financial Advisory, Mr. Birdie. Member Handbook, Mr. Birdie and Dr. Johnson. Urban District Advisor Network Liaison, Mrs. Miranda, and SALT, Dr. Johnson.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Okay, so now let's move into item 17 so that we can continue our memberships in these following organizations. Board colleagues, to continue our membership in OSBA, or the Ohio School Boards Association, a motion would be in order for 17.01.
Madam President, I'll make a motion for approval to continue membership and subscriptions for the following: the Ohio School Board Association, January through December of 2017, subscription to the Briefcase and School Management News, January through December of 2017, and participation in the Ohio School Boards Association Legal Assistance Fund, January through December of 2017.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Board colleagues, next we want to continue our membership into the National School Boards Association. So a motion would be in order for 17.02.
Madam President, I'd like to make a request to approve the continuation of membership in the National School Board Association this calendar year of January through December 2017.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. And last but not least, board colleagues, we would like to continue our membership in the Equity and Adequacy Coalition. So a motion would be in order for 17.03.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the continuation of membership in the Equity and Adequacy Coalition from January to December 2017.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. And we will now move into item number 18.01, which is our Board of Education operating protocol. And Dr. Johnson, you have the floor to introduce that.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to review and adopt the Board of Education operating protocol.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I would just like to say to that, as far as looking it over, it's pretty standard to what we had in the previous years. But one thing that this board protocol does do is it gives us sort of a footprint to follow, so that we will kind of be on one accord and know where we're going, when we're going, and it allows us to work cohesively together by following just a set of guidelines. And so I feel like it's something that is needed. It talks about how we'll disseminate information, how we will work together effectively. And so just wanted to add that as we, look at the board protocol.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. And for item 18.02, our other business board, you will find at your seat that we have added in a resolution, and I will turn to our superintendent. So you have the floor for this.
Are you referring to the Chinese?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Each year, we bring a group of Chinese students who have an interest in earning proper credentials so that they can hopefully be accepted and admitted to a United States university. If you notice anything about China, they are oversaturated as far as people are concerned, and it is very difficult to get into those universities. We don't take every Chinese student that applies, simply because our standards are very, very high. And there are no guarantees. They have to meet the curriculum, they have to meet all the state standards, and they also have to pass the state assessment at the end. There have been a few occasions where a student did not finish and pass the state assessment, and we had made the agreement with them that you will travel back to the States and back to China until you do. And it took the student several times to do it. One of the things that we do not put our own students in a situation that when these Chinese students come, they come with all the skill base and they have to have all the necessary credits in order to meet the state standards, the state of Ohio standards. So it's not something that's done lightly. We're very, very focused about the work and what they do. And we encourage the host families that if they have any difficulty helping kids manage, they let us know immediately. We want them to have a full scope of what happens as it relates to public education in the states. And the state of Ohio now has changed some of the standards where it will not be the OGT. It will be points that they will have to have. And so there's an agreement now with China of how to make these points transfer, and the points must add up appropriately. And if they don't, you don't meet the criteria, and there you go. The last piece that the board needs to recognize about this endeavor, as a superintendent, I am the academic agent for the district, and I could see something happening down the road that coming in January was not going to be sufficient. They must be here all year in order to meet this. The standards have changed. We've ramped it up. The state has had stronger mandates, and I do not personally believe that the Chinese students would be able to master this in a half-year segment. So this agreement says that we are going to, in the future, they are now going to be expected to, after this, to be here a whole year, not 6 months, because they won't make it. And we're not trying to put anybody in a bad position. And I think that the public needs to understand this is not about money, this is about opportunities. And our educational responsibility is very, very valid. We do not take kids that we don't think could master this. And it doesn't matter how much money the students would pay. I think it would be very disrespectful to China and also to our own system to take kids knowing that they wouldn't meet the standards. So we're very, very determined to make it right. So Dr. Holden will be our representative to go to China. There is a ceremonial piece that takes place where she presents this information, and it is a very important document because it has the key to the superintendent's licensure connected to it. So I do not sign it lightly because it's very important to me and also to the school district.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Yes.
A motion would be in order for that resolution, board colleagues.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to authorize the resolution, to have the resolution to license and service contract with Dehan Education Alliance, as presented by the superintendent.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? And I just wanted to add into the timeline as to why this was added to the agenda, because our meeting schedule didn't follow Dr. Holden's travel schedule to China, so we appreciate your flexibility in this last-minute resolution.
Yes, thank you very much.
Any further questions or discussion?
I would just also like to say that I'm glad that this document is now in place. I know that there was something similar to this, but not exactly this, and that it takes the whole year, because the Ohio Department of Education has made some changes with the graduation requirements, and if they're here for 6 months and they don't meet those requirements and go back to their own country, then they feel like we've done them a disservice in not having service and giving them the education that they expected. So the whole year and the way the point system is going to be, I'm just glad to see this in place. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Douglas?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And with no further business on our agenda, I would just like to thank each of my colleagues to my left and right for your confidence in me to serve you again as your board president. It's my honor, my privilege, and also my sworn duty to serve you, and I don't take that lightly. Let's continue in keeping our students first and foremost, and continue moving forward cohesively as a team. Anything else you would like to add, Dr. Johnson, or any of my board colleagues before we close out? Okay. Well, Happy New Year, and our meeting is adjourned.